All right, welcome everybody. Today we've got an opportunity to talk with Dan Weinberger from Morpheus Network, and really excited to have him here. It's been quite a while since we've talked online. Maybe Dan, you could say hi to our viewers and give me a little background so they understand a little bit more about you and Morpheus.
Most definitely, John. I know we've had a lot of conversations since we've last, created one of these videos for our communities. I love doing this as well. We get to kind of talk about all the different work we do together. What's my background? I've been in supply chain for over 25 years now. Last 5 years, I've been with Morpheus Network, of course. Co-founded the company along with Noah Meppel. We've been friends since we were in nursery school. So aside from working with Morpheus, of course, I'm a UN supply chain expert. I teach a masterclass on paperless trade for the UN as well. I'm an advisor with George Brown. I do a bunch of different roundtables as well with various universities. So excited to be here. With my pains that I've had in the past in supply chain specifically, I put that experience into Morpheus, into this supply chain automation platform. Obviously, when it comes to supply chain and all the different technologies out there, we have some amazing integrations. Of course, integrating with Dimitra and the different things that you guys do is, right up our alley, makes complete sense. We have different integrations as well. We're an SAP partner. We have an SAP certified product around brand protection. We integrate with a bunch of IoT partners as well. So excited to be here, John. I don't want to get too deep into it, but let me throw it back into you. Just maybe some people watching us for the first time. Why don't you give us some background on yourself, John, as well?
Yeah, well, I guess I'd start that I'm a recognized blockchain expert. I've been doing blockchain consulting since 2017, been involved in numerous blockchain projects, and have a background in developing and implementing enterprise software solutions, all focused on supply chain, finance, agriculture, and I've had a few C-level positions with some major multinational corporations. I got started with Dimitra a few years ago while building an identification platform. And this identification platform was all about tracking and registering farms so that those farms could take advantage of some government programs and start their farming journey with support from some international NGOs. Dan and I met probably 4 or 5 years ago now, working on a blockchain traceability project relative to supply chain. And it was exciting exposure for me to what Morpheus is doing and all of the great work that they had done at that point, building their platform and the vision of their platform. Tell me a little bit about the start of Morpheus, Dan.
Yeah, most definitely. I mentioned that, with my background being in supply chain, that I firsthand felt the pains of being a supply chain manager and what companies are facing on a day-to-day basis. And what do I mean by that, right? It's actually a quote from the World Bank that, the number one global problem to solve in order to stimulate economic growth are the supply chain issues themselves. The fragmented data in supply chain, it's a over $2 trillion opportunity, really, that's lost by companies based on slowing down other supply chain. It's actually a stat recently, meeting with Livingston International, a massive customs broker, that 80% of all supply chain delays have to do with human error specifically. Obviously extrapolating that, what does that end up with the world? We actually have 90% of all greenhouse gases are released by supply chains for companies. That's a stat from the EPA. If we have 80% of delays, happening by human error, a vast majority of the delays, which are unnecessary, are causing all these extra greenhouse gases. It's a huge problem to solve, obviously, to optimize supply chains, to take all that data in supply chain. That for myself as a supply chain manager, being that hub, trying to connect, shipping companies to customs brokers, to buyers, to sellers, and from ocean shipping to ground shipping to package, and make sure compliance documents are there. This is where Morpheus sits, in between all these different stakeholders, all these different IT systems, different ERPs, warehouse management systems, transport management systems, terminal operating systems, and make sure all that data passes through seamlessly. We've done this, for example, with Gulf Tainer. It's the world's largest private port operator, based out of Dubai. We have an API hub set up with them already, pushing and pulling data as needed from their terminal operating systems, their transport management system. Really an amazing solution. Excited to be a part of this whole, this digitized, sort of like, I should say, digitalized world that we're becoming a part of when it comes to supply chain. Excited every single day about these different projects. So, Jon, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got started with Dimitra, a little bit about the solution from a high level and what you guys are working on right now.
Yeah, like I said, Dimitra started with identification of farmers and registration of farmers. It's grown since then. We built 5 applications now, and they all serve a different purpose. We have a couple applications in the livestock area. One of them focused on livestock performance, genetics, and feed management and breeding. We've got another one that's focused at small livestock farmers. And then on the crop side, we have a product called Dimitra Connected Coffee. It is completely focused at the coffee value chain, right from agronomy through shipping. And, that's one of the reasons it's a great fit between us and Morpheus, because they kind of take care of a lot of that shipping and customs documentation and things like that. We also have our Dimitra Connected Farmer application, very in-depth application, very AI heavy, helping farmers with advice on how to farm better, improve their crop yields, reduce their costs. Yeah, and our 5th app is the new deforestation platform. And we built the deforestation platform to help farmers manage their farm and comply with new regulations that are coming out. The United Nations has been working on deforestation for a number of years. EU has just come out with new regulations that prevent the importation of certain commodities if they're sourced at a farm that has been involved in deforestation since 2020. It's a major legislative change that is going to affect the entire food supply chain world. Major commodities like coffee and palm oil and cocoa, beef and trees. So every farm in the world needs to prepare for this. The other thing is that recently at COP, 141 nations have signed a pact to implement similar rules between now and 2030. The EU is going first. Those 28 nations are making it law, and it is going into effect next year. So pretty exciting platform. We can talk a little bit more about that. We are in discussions with Dan and his team about deforestation and how we can align our missions together on this deforestation initiative. I'd like to hear a little bit more, Dan, about what you've got going on right now. What are a couple of the core projects that you're working on?
Love to talk about that. Since we haven't spoken, on a video in so long, there's so much to talk about, so much growth that we've had as a team, and different projects we're working on. Just on a side note, that deforestation app that Jon was talking about, I got a demo of it from Jon. It is amazing, absolutely fantastic. The visual imagery, being able to show the changes using AI in that way. Jon, obviously I'm not going to, reveal anything about the platform that, that you don't want to reveal, but I got to say it is magnificent. So congratulations on that, of course. Listen, it's been since last year since we've done a video. So we won a couple different awards. We won the Food Logistics Award for 2022, which is amazing. Got a lot to do with our work with FCL, Federated Co-op, 3rd largest retailer in Canada. We've implemented a couple new systems, supply chain related systems on top of the food certification systems. Really awesome stuff, reducing their carbon footprint as well, which is obviously a goal of their company. Also, we won the People's Choice Award with Plug and Play out in Calgary last year, which is great. We have a couple of different solutions added to the UN database, the UN ESCAP database solutions, which is awesome. One about specifically cross-border, automating the documentation. And you mentioned the compliance, obviously, Jon, and how essential that is. And working with the UN that you've been doing as well. And we have a partnership with Next Trade. Ian Watt being the vice chair of UN CFAC. That is specifically Next Trade is providing Morpheus when it comes to supply chain documentation, global docs, and making sure that we're using clean, standardized data. As the UN moves towards that, the UN CFAC's been working towards that for many years, allowing companies to participate in global trade and using the same semantics, the same language in order to make these things happen in a seamless fashion. Again, going back to those delays that Livingston International was talking about, those 80%, by human error if we have a standardized method. And then once that standardized method is mature, it builds into some sort of AI protocol again. We can leverage amazing technology to make sure that people are doing their shipments in a proper fashion and pushing things ahead. What else we've been working on? We actually were accepted to a Google Accelerator program. So we've now joined the Google ecosystem, which is fantastic. What's great about that accelerator program, it is based on AI as well. We're excited about so many different ideas that we have about using AI in supply chain specifically, helping companies participate in global trade. Really exciting. We've actually been growing the team as well. Added on new team members in the past year. Shirley Veras, which everyone has met. Hannah Ramies as well. I'm talking about the community that's met them. We've added on David Lanuski formerly of CH Robinson. Super excited to have him on the team. He was from Project 44, and now he's joined Morpheus. Adding on a couple of new team members. Actually, someone that was formerly with Amazon and their supply chain divisions joining the team. James Toland has joined the team as well. He's a huge industry in software sales. So we're going to keep on growing the team as well. New partners around the world. I mentioned, obviously, Next Trade in Australia. We're actually starting a new project with them as well, specifically with the government of Australia to do with biosecurity risks, specifically with compliance reporting, which is something we're very good at. We've done a lot of food certification, compliance reporting, as well as compliance around supply chain documentation. So this is right up our alley. Excited to work with another government, obviously, as well. We actually also landed another government project to build a single window. Very excited to tell you guys more about that. We do have an NDA in place with that, but that we are building that as we speak. And we keep on growing up the solution. So really excited about the next year coming up. We have some great events. I'm going to the United Nations event in Geneva this year. We'll be traveling to different places as well. Noam was just at a conference last week in Barcelona. We're very excited about that. Can I ask you, John, what you're excited about in 2023, how the year has been so far, and what we have to look forward to?
It's been a great year so far, and a lot of our work has been built around building this deforestation solution. All of the prototyping is done. It is operational, and we have it operational in Colombia, Brazil, and now we're building out some functionality for Indonesia. The application itself is simple but complex. So we look at satellite data going back to the cutoff date in 2020. We use machine learning, artificial intelligence to evaluate all of the land. So we scan all of the farmland in those areas and in the world and look for elements of deforestation. We've trained the artificial intelligence to recognize different types of trees and be able to differentiate between trees and other crops and other flora. And then we can take an individual geofence, and as we draw that geofence around a farm, we extract the historical data related to the forest on that farm. And we can measure over time, has there been any trees cut down? Have there been any trees added? And we calculate all of that data and we evaluate compliance. We also evaluate compliance with our local agricultural laws and forestry laws. And then we gather all of that together and put it into a certificate. Certificate is driven by the DMTR token, and then we write that to the blockchain. And so today we're writing all of that to Polygon blockchain. So very AI driven, very analytics heavy platform, and allows us to make sure that every farm that is on our app and every cooperative and every food importer can comply with those new EU laws. This is a big change. We've done some evaluations. I'll use Ivory Coast, for example. We evaluated an area of Ivory Coast for deforestation for cocoa, and they are one of the largest providers of cocoa in the world. And almost 50% of the farms have been involved in this one particular region with deforestation. Companies have until early next year to prepare themselves and understand that where they're going to be sourcing. And they may not be able to source from the same supply chain next year that they are this year. They need time to evaluate and redesign their supply chains in order to manage the import of all of those chocolate and coffee and palm oil and soy products, as well as wood and beef. So we're really excited about that. At the end of last year, we won the World Web3 and Blockchain World Award. And that entrepreneurship award was in the industry solutions category. So we were quite excited about doing that. Of course, you've all seen the news about our gem deal and then some of the other projects that we're onboarding. Just watch the news, read our articles. I think we're in 16 nations with projects now. We're working on one right now for Bolivia. Just got off a meeting this morning, and we are looking at our own branded soil testing kit that goes with the solution, and we'll be able to take those soil testing kits in small regions and cooperatives. They'll be able to buy those kits and actually feed all of the information into our application to allow our AI to do those analytics and provide good feedback around how somebody prepares their farm to perform better. And so that's a small digital kit and very exciting project. We're testing that with 2,000 to 3,000 farms in Bolivia this year, and then looking to expand that electronic kit around the world to supplement data collection. Tell me about your thoughts on how do you transition your business in this new world, and what's the future for Morpheus with all these changes that are going on?
Listen, when we're talking, let's say, transforming a business, myself and yourself as well, Jon, since we're in this, field and we look to digitalize as much as we can. If they give us free reign, we'll go to every single department of every single company, do what we can, to move them over to an optimized, automated system using the best technologies, of course. When it comes to companies, though, specifically, we have to find those specific pain points, what they're willing to pay for initially. If something's working in their minds perfectly smoothly, they don't want to necessarily implement something new, even if it is something that's even better. Even if we can prove it, but if it's working well for them, they won't necessarily want to pay for it or implement something new that's not, doesn't need fixing. So you got to find that pain point, and that's why we have such amazing, team members, basically working as consultants initially for these prospects to talk them through. Okay, how are you handling this part of your company? How is this working out for you? Let's find it. Is it on the procurement side of it? Okay, is it on distribution, traceability, documentation? Where are those problems? The international shipping, so we have to find those pain points. And then once we get that beachhead, we get that initial project, then we can grow from there, right? We have their data already, we have their trust, we can prove out, what the solution can do, and then suddenly we're tying in other data pieces to automate even further. That's what I love talking about with these clients. And really, Jon, you're talking about projects in Bolivia, Indonesia, all around the world, different continents, ourselves as well. The single windows in Asia and down in Argentina, working with the government. Then we have FCL and these massive companies around the world, Gulf Tainer, so on and so forth. And what's amazing about it on the back end, right? We can keep on building and doing what we love to do, is the supply chain digitalization. We have our token holders holding these nodes, allowing these validations to happen through our master node network, which I'm so excited about. It was released in December, and in 5 days, we filled out the entire initial round of over 1,800 nodes. The reaction was absolutely amazing. We did not expect it to happen so quickly. We thought people would ease into the node system, but no, everyone jumped in. They got their spot. We're just in the process of releasing round 2, just in the process of having a wait list built in for round 3 as well. Excited about growing it out. Excited about the next stages when we completely decentralize, that system as well. Going to be a lot of amazing stuff happening with that node network. And once again, that's all about validating these supply chain projects, which we get to continue doing, Jon. It's going to continue happening. We're going to integrate with the Deforestation app and bring in data in that way as well, and have more validations going on the back end. And the token holders, all they got to do, set up their nodes, become a validator, join that part of the network, and allow us to keep on growing out our companies. And we all grow in parallel together, which is something I'm very much looking forward to this year, 2024, 2025, and beyond, most definitely. So that's what I'm excited about, the technology backing the actual supply chain projects as we look forward to the future. So
yeah,
how about you, my friend?
Yeah, I think that node program that you have is amazing. I know you and I talked about that probably 2 years ago at least, and I know you've been working on it for well longer than a year, trying to put all of the pieces in place and make that work. And you've kind of reached that system maturity level that allows you to do those things and work on those projects. So congratulations on that. I think as we come into this year, we're really focused on expanding through our deforestation and the distribution of our application. We have so many large projects that we're discussing right now with states and governments around the world. The activity in the agriculture world for digitization of the processes and helping farmers with satellite and AI and IoT is really accelerating quickly. And so we've got 70 guys around the world talking to state and federal governments and NGOs and cooperatives. We've got projects ongoing in South America, Africa, Asia, and we're continuing to expand those. And when I look at the deforestation event, this may be the biggest legislative event in global agriculture that we've seen, at least in my lifetime. And, this is going to generate millions, potentially hundreds of millions of digital transactions that are required for clearing those commodities going into Europe. And then the acceleration of that around the world. We've got some cool other projects going on. Our marketplace will be coming out later this year. So we'll be tying the commercial end for the farmers back to the front end, the agronomy end. And then we have a number of improvements going on. Our AI group is just going crazy building cool products. We've got some new satellite analysis features. We've got some features coming out on soil analysis. We're doing an integration with one of the largest soil databases in the world, and we've already done our proof of concept on that. We import all of that data, and we can take and estimate soil nutrition levels at any point in the world based on data coming out of this database and a number of factors where we apply machine learning in order to make predictions. And one of the things when we start with a farm is how do we make that farm productive? And not every farmer in the world has the ability to go out and run a soil test or can afford to run a soil test. So we have to have baseline data, and we can do a lot of that. We've got a project going in Papua New Guinea right now using drones and AI to evaluate penetration of fall armyworm. Fall armyworm in that area on one of the largest farms in Papua New Guinea devastated almost 50% of their crop 2 years ago. It is a very invasive pest, and we're looking at how do we pinpoint where that pest is within a field. We use satellite drone imagery, and then we do very specific spraying in order to fight outbreaks of the pest within the field. Overall spraying doesn't tend to work well with that pest because of the way that the pest grows. It has a larva stage and a caterpillar stage, and it sits on the bottom of leaves. So it's not the easiest thing to fight, but it eats everything in its path. And then, some projects going now in India that are quite exciting. And we're waiting on some announcements in the next 30 to 45 days that I'm ecstatic about. We've been shortlisted for a number of major global initiatives, and we're in negotiations, so I can't talk too much about it. But one of the most exciting times in Dimitra history.
Fantastic to hear, John. And I know that feeling when you can't talk too much about something that you're just like bursting at the seams to talk about. And you're like, I want to tell you everything about it, but yeah, good luck, obviously, with those current proposals you have out there. I know your team all around the world is working super hard, as my team is as well. And yeah, listen, I'm excited for the remainder of 2023. Obviously for the business side of it, but also obviously with the Master Nodes program and all that, the trustmnw.com network. So yeah, that's all I want to talk about today, John. If anything else you wanted to let people know about that we didn't talk about today, honestly, we're going to put that out on our blogs and our channels. If anyone from the Morpheus team wants to email me, or from the Dimitra side, email me directly. It's dan@morpheus.network. It might take me a week or two sometimes, depending on the volume of messages I get, but I reply to every single person. Proud to say that for years I've done that, and I will continue to do that. So, Jon, thank you always for the great questions. Anything else you wanted to talk to the Dimitra community or the Morpheus community today?
No, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. I always appreciate talking to you. Love working with your team. And, this is just an opportunity for us to share a little bit about what's going on with our communities, get a little bit more information in the field, and maybe allow you listeners or community members to learn a little bit more about us. So thank you all for the time. We're really excited about what's going on in 2023, and have a great rest of the week, everybody.
Amazing. Thank you, Jon. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.